Hey, this is Wednesday, September 11th. If you're lucky, you might see me pass out on camera here in a moment. I am alive, just barely. I'm hanging on to just little tiny threads, and I'm all lightheaded, so I get all like, woo. So it could be really entertaining. This might be the last video that we ever do, but hopefully not. No tie game this week because I was dead. You should be halfway finished with your book by this weekend at the very latest. And then there is a bell work we're going to get to in a moment. And if you're at home, there's also a story on my website. You're going to go to the short story page, and it's one that says the robot article or robot teachers or something like that. It looks like that. And so I'm going to be reading it to you. If you want like your own copy, you can either ask me for a copy when you come back, or you can just print it off yourself. This homework is due Friday. You should have this side done. This side you should be getting done, and so it'll be a grade. I'm going to keep trying to remind you, you have till Friday to get it done, which means most of you are going to wait till Thursday night at 9 o'clock and then tell your parents, and be like, hey, I still have homework to do, and they're going to yell at you. That becomes the whole parent bonding thing. Bell work for today, to go along with our story, you're going to tell me why you agree or disagree with each one. So not just write agree or disagree, tell me why you agree or disagree. 1. I would happily choose online school over real school. 2. School would be better with fewer teachers. 3. The best thing about school is the people that are here. 4. I wish VMath and Con could be used for English and history. 5. I think iPads and technology make learning more fun. So for each one, you're going to tell us why you agree or disagree, and then you're going to listen to our fascinating conversation. Before I get to that, Happykins, you've been so patient. You had your hand up a moment ago. Easy, good. Katie did. You've been less patient, but that's okay. I'm guessing that's not yours. I think that's a kid from science. I know that kid. So for now, let's do votey thing to see where your thinking lies with each one. So all you have to do is raise hand for agree or disagree. 1. I would happily choose online school over real school. Agree? Disagree. All right. Be brave with your answer. Don't follow everyone else. 2. School will be better with fewer teachers. Agree? Disagree. All right. 3. The best thing about school is the people that are here. Agree? Disagree. All right. And 4. I wish VMath and Con could be used for the English and the history. Agree? Disagree. And 5, I think iPads and technology make learning more fun. Agree. Disagree. All right. Now, here's the article I found, which is that iPad. And so the idea here is that they're going to start phasing out teachers. And that the idea of having a person in front of the room talking to you is something that is going to disappear over this next decade. And the fact that they're going to start laying down the groundwork, that the technology is already there. It's just a matter of slowly getting society and our culture to shift in that direction. And they're going to try and present arguments that is actually better for us to get rid of teachers and move more towards this electronic learning. And so that's what we're going to take a look at to see your thinking. So the idea being is that it probably won't impact you guys as much, maybe more towards the end of your senior year, but the idea of your children would definitely not be in a classroom as you guys see it today, that would be completely gone by the time your children's come around. Or so the theory goes. Katie did.
But wouldn't that ruin the money system? Like, they don't have jobs.
True, but that happens all the time with technology. I mean, there used to be factory workers who had to put cars together, but now there's not. And so the same thing with truck drivers. They're starting to replace truck drivers with like automated cars made by Tesla. And you have to just sort of figure out other things to do. Things shift and new jobs happen. In theory. So let's find out. Ooh, wow, so angry and lashing out. So once again, things that surprised you, mark them in there. We'll figure out the things that surprised you, aside from you guys saying all technology is stupid. And then 2 and 3, I will give you a hint. You're going to have a question on your homework tomorrow that's going to talk about the opinions and facts from this article. So if you mark them now, it just makes future you's life easier, because then you have a little bit less homework to do. But if you just hate future you, and you're like, future me's a jerk, then you just go ahead and ignore that. And then future you is like, past me was a jerk, now I see why he hates future me. It's going to make so much more sense. iPads and computers to begin replacing teachers within 10 years. iPads and computers will begin replacing teachers in the classroom within the next 10 years as part of a revolution in one-to-one learning, a leading educationalist has predicted. I bold and underline that because that's a big thing they're pushing now with teachers. We use this whole one-to-one learning thing as a phrase all the time. Then I realized I don't think kids know what one-to-one learning is. You guys know what one-to-one learning is?
No.
That was my guess. One-to-one learning is the idea of every kid has their own technology they get to learn from. Because at one time, it used to be like when you were in a classroom, you only had like 3 computers sitting in the back of the room. And you guys go to Hamilton Southeastern, which is a fairly well-off district. So because of that, you guys each get your own iPad to learn from. But there's a lot of districts where they can't afford that. So instead of each having their own iPad, they have like 4 computers that sit in the back of the room. And if you want to be able to use the computer, you have to like take turns with them and stuff like that. So their idea is if we can get it to the point where every kid has their own piece of technology, it makes it easier to sort of help you with learning. You guys are already a step there. We're already one-to-one here. So we're a step closer to getting rid of those old clunky teacher things. Back to the story. Sir Anthony Selden, Vice Chancellor of the University of Buckingham, said intelligent machines that adapt to suit the learning styles of individual children will soon make traditional academic teaching all but redundant. The former principal of Wellington College said programs currently being developed in Silicon Valley will learn to read the brains and facial expressions of students, adapting the method of communication to what works best for them. 2 things there. Do you guys know what Silicon Valley is?
Yeah.
It's a TV show, I agree, but it's connected to something. It's filling off?
It's like a really big computer. They make a lot of technology.
Not bad. It's actually a place. It's in California, just south of San Francisco, where all the computer tech people move out to and work. So it's like where IBM was born, where Google started, where Microsoft started. Actually, that started in Seattle, but where they have like a lot of their home bases are in this area, where it's where most tech ideas come from. And so this is called Silicon Valley. Silicon meaning like computer parts. And so it's like the central area for all these areas. And so the idea being is that they're already coming up with stuff to make this work. As an example, your iPhone, if you have the newest one, how do you unlock the newest iPhones? Facial recognition. They can use that with teaching. Because imagine now with NWEA, if we were to work in facial recognition. The idea being is that it can follow where your eyes are. So it can tell if you're paying attention while you're doing NWEA. What if they go the next step and it now connects to your Apple Watch? And it can tell if your heartbeat goes faster or slower if you're paying attention. And so it can now keep track of all that information while you're doing NWEA to make sure you're focused. What if every time that your eyes left the screen, your Apple Watch would vibrate and the screen pops up with focus? And it keeps kind of like that one. So that's what they're talking about happening, is the fact that this technology's there. We're just starting to work it together. You don't have to wait. We'll get to you. I know you want to yell at me, but that's coming soon. The new era of automated teaching promises an end to grouping children by year, as the personalized nature of the robots will enable kids to learn new material at their own pace, rather than as part of a large class. Meaning no more 7th grade, 8th grade, 9th grade. That's all gone. Instead, you're going to learn just at your own speed. And so you don't have to. You might be able to get through all of the learning in just a couple of years, or some of you guys might take a lot longer. Do you have to leave to go somewhere?
No.
You just want to yell at me? You just have to wait. All right. Just want to make sure I wasn't like, I have to go to the bathroom. They're like, I was ignoring you. I wasn't that. It's going to open up the possibility of an impressively high level of education for everybody. Everyone can have the very best teacher, and it's completely personalized. The software you're working with will be with you throughout your education journey. He warned, however, that the new technology would have to be carefully introduced to avoid infantilizing pupils and teachers. Mr. Brovicast, that's a big word. I know. So we're going to take a look at it real quick. Infantilizing. A word that I'm guessing most of you are not familiar with. But there is a word in there you should be familiar with. Nice one. And what is an infant?
A baby.
A baby, small person child. So, if knowing what infant means, can you figure out what it means when it says the technology will have to be carefully introduced so that we avoid infantilizing people with it? So what is it we're trying to talk about happening or doing? Amber?
Making them babies that are dumb.
Actually, not far off. Making them baby-brained. So the idea of technology does everything for us, you become like a baby. Because babies, we do everything for them. And so if too much technology happens, we don't have to do anything on our own. There's a Disney movie that's based on this. Because at the very end of it, or towards the end of it, you have a whole race of humans who robots do everything for them. That movie being? Yeah. And so that was an example of the robots who do everything for you when they just sort of sat there in the chairs. That was the idea of them being infantilized because they're basically like little infants. Goo goo, gaga, food, food. And they get like their giant Slurpees they got to drink, a little TV in front of them because that's the worry that too much technology takes away your ability to do things on your own. As part of computer-led learning, teachers would change their role to become more of an overseer, just monitoring the progress of individual pupils, or leading non-academic clubs and sports, and providing emotional support like counseling. Teachers would still exist. I would just walk around and help you with your NWEA while you did it. I would still be like a girls' cross-country coach, and maybe still like a therapist, or like to help guide you if you had questions. You could come talk to me, but I wouldn't actually stand up here doing all that teaching stuff. The efficiency of automated teaching would also mean that only 30% of school time will be spent in class, thus shortening the overall time needed for kids to be in school. So you would not need to be at school for 8 hours. You could cut your school day down to 3 hours because you got to realize a lot of school time is spent walking from class to class, talking to other people, dealing with teachers, having to yell at other kids. But if you get rid of all of that, you get just down to the actual teaching part. Plus, if we introduce technology that doesn't let you not pay attention to it, because as soon as your eyes drift elsewhere, it gives you a little shock on your watch to help you refocus, then you can sit there for your whole 3 hours and focus on it and not get distracted by other things. Still going to have to wait, I know. You just really want to yell at me. Sir Anthony heralds this new education era in his book, The Fourth Revolution. The impact is going to be massive. This is beyond anything that we've seen in the Industrial Revolution or since with any other new technology. The first revolution is understood to consist of learning the basics of survival, foraging, hunting, growing crops, building shelters. The second involved the first organized sharing of knowledge. The third was marked by the invention of printing. Automated teaching machines would be extraordinarily life-changing. You'll still have the humans there walking around during school time, but in fact, the inspiration in terms of intellectual excitement will come from the lighting up of the brain, which the machines will be superbly well geared for. The machines will know what it is that most excites you and gives you a natural level of challenge that is not too hard or too easy, but just right for you. He expects the teacher unions to be very alarmed. The same worry you guys had. Yeah, the teacher unions are going to be upset because you're talking about getting rid of all of the teachers. So yeah, that's probably going to bother some of them. The technology's already beginning to arrive, and honestly, it has. It's already there on the west coast of the U.S., that'd be the whole Silicon Valley, and it's already beginning to transform the schools over here. I'm expecting this to happen in the next 10 years. The great danger is that it takes jobs away, and for human beings, much of our fulfillment in life comes from the satisfaction of work. If we get the technology wrong, it'll end up doing everything for us in the same way that GPS means we no longer know how to read maps. Experts predict that automated teaching of math and science will form the first level of machine-led learning, but that sophisticated algorithms would soon be devised to teach other classes like English or social studies. So real quick, that second to last thing, you guys know what GPS is?
Yes.
Global positioning you guys could use on your phones. The problem with GPS is that the ability to read a map is a lost ability. 10 years ago, it was only 10 years ago that GPS was not really being used because it was not allowed to be used. So because of that, the technology was not there. When you went on a vacation somewhere, your parents had to actually use a map like this. If you ever get into your grandparents' car, sometimes in the back of it, they're going to have old atlases, and you can flip through there, and they're going to have maps in there, because old people still like to use maps, where you have to like sit there and try to figure out. But if I gave you this, and said, we're here, I need you to get to here by using this map, you'd go, well, we're probably going to die. Because that does not mean anything to you. You're going to end up trying to take the river to try to get to a place in your car because you don't know the difference between the red and the blue. And that's their worry, is the fact that with technology taking over, some skills, we lose that. Here's another skill kids are losing. I realized a lot of people no longer have the ability to read or write cursive, and it is becoming a foreign language. And so the idea of being able to try and read that becomes foreign, because it's not a font that pops up on your phone, so you have no need to learn it. But there's that becoming a lost skill. So that's where issues come into all of this. Kata, would you like to yell at me about something? What's up?
So basically now the government has all this information about us, and they can basically take over our minds and literally turn us into like robots, and so now they're taking over. We're giving all this information to the government now?
If it helps, it's not just the government. Because guess what? I have one more thing to show you. That's not the government. So this idea came up. I'm going to come back to it. Hang on. And the idea of, have you ever been on, I'm sure you have been, YouTube or Instagram or the internet, and a lot of times you'll find the ads that pop up on the side of them are very specific to stuff that you look at. Have you ever gone shopping on Amazon and then you go on the internet and all of a sudden there's ads for that thing you just looked at and you're like, well, that's a coincidence. That's not a coincidence. That's computer programming. Those ads use the cookies on your computer, the things you've gone to visit, and they use that to sell stuff to you. Same thing with Instagram. The ads that pop up on Instagram are not the same ones for everybody. If you follow more athletes, the ads that pop up for you are going to be more athlete related. If you follow more nerdy things, you're going to have more Harry Potter things that pop up for you, because they direct this stuff to you. Back in 2012, Target, the company, the one that has the two red circles, got themselves in trouble because they figured out how to algorithm their ads to predict when women were going to be pregnant, because they could figure out what things women shopped for. There were certain lotions and cotton balls and medicines and vitamins that if a woman bought these things, then Target could predict with like a 95% accuracy not only if a woman was pregnant, but the week she was going to give birth from all of the stuff they'd done. Here's where it gets worse. They started sending out ads to people saying, congratulations on your pregnancy, would you like to use these ads? And it all came down when it was sent to a teenage girl, and they sent her ads for her pregnancy. Her dad was irate and went in and yelled at Target and said, how dare you try to tell my daughter that she should go out there and be having premarital sex? This is wrong. Your company should be ashamed. Then it turns out she was pregnant, and the father had to apologize. And it was Target that outed her. And it is a thing you can actually Google, because it was this big thing where Target had to then retract a bunch of it, and now they've had to change how they do marketing. Here's the scary thing. That was 7 years ago. Our technology has grown exponentially since then with what they can do. They can predict a woman's week of giving birth from ads that she looked at 7 years ago. The idea of this is not far away. Pumphrey.
So I was looking at like fossil watches on the internet, and then I was like, I just got off and I went on YouTube, and the first ad I saw was a fossil smartwatch.
And a lot of that will be because your accounts are linked. Because you got onto YouTube, which you probably have signed into your account, when you were on the internet, and those background things you don't think about, but you're worried about it selling to the government, but it's Google and Yahoo and Microsoft and Apple, and they're all selling them to each other in the background, and they know a lot more about you than you think you do.
Oh,
Yeah.
I don't like it.
Here's the problem. Whether you like it or not, it's happening. So just going, doesn't stop it. It's still occurring. My thing is, you guys are the future. So if they're predicting that teachers disappear by the time that you guys have children, how does that impact society? Jillian?
So I was watching Shane Dawson.
Mm-hmm.
He showed this one experiment that this couple did, and they don't have a cat, and
The
they were
Facebook one?
talking. Yeah, they were talking
Yes.
about buying cat food,
Oh,
but they
I
don't
just
have a
heard
cat, and they were saying that Facebook like listens to you
Uh-huh.
and recommends you ads that you're talking about, and then like 2 days later after they were doing that experiment, an ad for cat food.
Yep, all that background creepy stuff. Happykins?
So basically, one time I bought a metal straw.
Well, technically, you only have to buy a metal straw once anyway. But go ahead.
Yeah, well, and then I got like all these ads on like all types of social media about like stuff that saves the planet, and it's because I bought a metal straw.
All those connection-y things. Amblin?
So isn't YouTube like kind of in trouble because like if you're under 13 and you don't have your parents' permission, like YouTube can't take like information about like what you like and stuff without parents. And kids are getting like personalized ads and stuff, but that's illegal. So isn't YouTube getting like in trouble?
I don't know for sure.
And then also because of that, I think they're gonna like change it so that there's no personalized ads on anything that could be even remotely related to kids. And also, they're getting rid of like comments and stuff on all that stuff.
Find out. I would not doubt it. Andre!
When you said like, you shouldn't be worried about the government. You should be worried about you provide everyone's favorite company, spyware.
Well, that's not a company. That's just a horrible thing that exists out there. But yes. Talbot?
So it said in the thingy.
Article.
That the learning would be based off of what was best for you, and like you didn't have to move up a grade or whatever, just be at your own pace. What if you're like really stupid and you're like 20 years old and you're still at 7th grade level?
Well, that was one of the issues brought up in third period, is that the idea here is that those kids who are smart, you could graduate high school by 14 because you could get rid of like summer breaks. Because summer breaks only happened because the agricultural times way back in the 1800s. But when we move to this, there won't be summer breaks. You could take a 5-month summer break or a 2-week summer break. It's just the longer your summer break, the longer it takes you to get done. So you can have some kids get done by age 14. But you also know kids in your classes who won't do this. And there's every chance you're going to have a kid who's 25 years old and still is 7th grade level stuff because they don't do the work, because of that whole irresponsibility thing. And then the issue became, well, is that a me problem or them problem? As long as I get my stuff done, then isn't that a them issue? But then the problem becomes, if our society is full of a bunch of
stupid people that are still in 7th grade.
so now because hi kids randomly standing up, I'm dead for 2 days and that's all it takes. Speaking of kids being angry, tomorrow we go a whole different direction because tomorrow's our first real short story that is going to haunt you the entire weekend. Egg off!